So I didn't plan for my first video to be talking about the young Republicans or to talk about Republicans in general. Usually it's Democrats, but I've been given an opportunity to rant about awful Republicans. So here we go. For context, I am a Republican, or at least registered Republican. I don't usually call myself one. I usually prefer the term conservative or America First conservative or something along those lines. Mountaineer conservative sometimes because I'm from West Virginia. Those are all better than Republican in my eyes. Less of a bad reputation. But I saw this tweet on my Twitter, Hendershot for West Virginia. I saw the political tweet, the leak of a bunch of messages, which I wish I could go through all of them, but it would take hours. So feel free to look through them yourself. If you can go to the original political tweet, if I remember, I'll leave it in the description. You know, I'm not going to say all of it's right, but it's a private group chat of a bunch of teenagers and young adults. What'd you expect? It's really not a big deal compared to a bunch of people wanting to kill people over politics. But the gist of it was a lot of young Republicans and people running for like positions in the young Republicans were in this group chat saying these things. So the young Republicans as a whole, all the states and everything started putting out statements, but the one we'll look at is the national statement, which reads as follows. We are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the political article published today. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to our values, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. Those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local young Republican orgs. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. This has come from the board of directors, which are a bunch of establishment, Romney types. And like I said, all the states started putting out their statements to state young Republicans, including West Virginia, David Bender, the chairman. I haven't met the guy in person, but I've spoken to him over text. Seemed like a good guy, but I just want to be honest real quick. I'm going to save most of my thoughts till later in the video, but like I said, I'd care maybe more about this if we were in the most divisive time this country and the world seen in about 50 years, and also our political opponents didn't just celebrate a political assassination literally just over a month ago and continue to wish death upon their opponents. Jay Jones in Virginia right now, a candidate for statewide office. I mean, I can't really care. You can't convince me to care about some, jokes about World War II in a certain country in the 1940s. Or certain, events that occurred or whatever, or slurs or whatever. I mean, it's not great, sure. If you want to say, they should be more professional, sure, I get it. I understand that. I'm in the business world, I understand that, in the political world. But like I said, this isn't really a big deal in today's climate. It's not the biggest deal. It's not the thing most people are worried about. But I don't really care about this. I really don't, truthfully. I have so many other things I could care about. I don't care about some 20-something saying slurs in a private group chat. I'm just going to be honest with you, young Republicans. And I, at one point, was planning to join the young Republicans of West Virginia. I didn't because we can't find enough people to actually organize a chapter here. There's not a lot of young Republicans in the state that is one of the oldest in the union. But continuing on, the only one I do want to shout out is the Young Republicans of Texas, because they're not affiliated with the National Young Republicans. They're the only one that's worth a damn that I've found so far. But I wanted to gather a few of the reactions to this. Starting off with Rasmussen, big conservative pollster. So edgy jokes messaged by conservatives, widely denounced by dozens of Republican orgs in less than 12 hours. Meanwhile, violent leftists called a murder, denounced by nobody. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's just a fun thing Rasmussen pointed out. Another one from my favoritely named account, Crusader Pepe, to older people in the GOP trying to tone police young men. You cannot comprehend the things we have heard leftists, especially ones in positions of power, openly say in public schools, college, and workplaces. Which is true. I've heard a lot online. I've heard not as much, but still some in workplaces and schools. You would be surprised. But my favorite one, and this is what actually convinced me to make this video finally, and not just a short, is from Vice President J.D. Vance himself. He tweeted regarding the situation, "This is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the Pearl Collection when powerful people call for political violence." And this is text that was leaked of Jay Jones, the candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, the Democrat candidate. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. Usually, I'm not the biggest JD Vance guy, which is controversial, saying that I could even make some enemies, in the sense that, I'm not just already, Vance 2028, there are other candidates. I'm not fully behind him just because he's the vice president, and Trump's likely to endorse him. He's a good candidate. I have my skepticisms about how he got his start in politics and the people who fund him, as all young Republicans probably do. I can respect this. He's like the only major figure calling it out, and he's the vice president, the second most powerful person on paper in the United States of America. I respect that, going against the young Republicans and saying, yeah, look, listen, this is not a big deal. It really isn't. In the world of politics, is it great? No. Is it the thing I'm worried about? Absolutely not. Now, of course, there's a lot of people coming out saying, oh, this is a good move. We can't have this type of thing in the Republican Party. You know, we have to be the respectful party. We can't stoop to other standards. And listen, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that was the mindset of the Republican Party. During the McCain-Romney days, when I was still a very young boy in old West Virginia, that was the Republican Party way. There's a reason Republicans haven't won jack since 2008 until Trump showed up between 2008 and 2016. And Republicans still take a lot of losses because they can't get through their head, these Republican orgs, Republican candidates. Sometimes in the political world of things, you can't just be holier than thou. You have to be able to go on the attack. You can't just be on the defensive. You can't just, oh, well, we'll get him next time. Oh, well, can't get him here. Let's try to get him here. You got to go on the attack. And you can't just infighting. You can't just have infighting all the time. Anytime somebody tries to do something different. They've been fighting with Trump for 8 years, about trying to actually make some changes and actually do something as a party. Republicans are so, Mitch McConnell types, Romney types, they're so okay with just being the opposition while the country falls apart. It's much easier to be in the opposition. They don't actually want to do anything. The Reagan caucus, for example, it sums up a lot of them. I didn't cover Matt Walsh's tweet because I didn't see it personally, but J.D. Vance and Matt Walsh once again show that they are tribalists with their no enemies to the right mentality, which doesn't make any sense. That's the exact opposite of tribalism. That means they're open to working with other groups on the right who may be more to the right of them, well, closer to the center, that needs to read up on their definitions, I guess. It's actually a good thing to be open to working with other factions under the party. That's the thing with America's two-party system is, yeah, there's two parties, but there's a whole bunch of factions under each party. I would probably consider myself more conservative than J.D. Vance. I don't know as much about Matt Walsh. I know he works at the Daily Wire, so he works with, Israel's number one boy, Ben Shapiro. But, it doesn't mean I'm not going to support him if he's the nominee in 2028 or that I'm fully against him. He's still on the Republican side of things. He's still on, if we're going to play sides here, he's still on the right side of politics. Anyway, the Reagan caucus is stupid. Moving on, a few more tweets here. Rasmussen and J.D. Vance both came back and had other things to say, and I really like the second Rasmussen tweet. The amount of bad logic I see about the politics of Gen Z tells me that proper work hasn't been done to understand why they turned down more than expected for Trump in 2024. Which, yeah, that's pretty obvious. The Democrats are worth a damn. They provided nothing for young men, especially white men. They have constantly bashed young men, especially white men. They have told us we are bottom of the barrel, we are responsible for all these things. So of course, that alone is going to push young men to the right. And Trump and his campaigning, it was a legendary campaign. It really was. Coming from me, I know it might sound biased, but it was. Said all the right things. He had made all the right proposals. No tax on tips, overtime pay. That's a big thing. A lot of servers, a lot of younger people who, make a lot of their money in tips, sales. That's a big thing. Overtime, big thing for a lot of people in the trades. But a lot of these organizations they're still stuck in neocon era politics. Things that Gen Z does not give a damn about. Gen Z is not hawkish. They are not wanting to go overseas and be in more wars, do more regime change. I don't give a damn what happens in the Middle East. That's not my problem. What matters to me is the United States of America. I don't give a damn about, we shouldn't be in all these different places, Iran, Iraq, wherever, name it. We shouldn't be in these wars because they're not our wars. Why are we giving trillions of dollars to all these countries in the Middle East, especially one country, when our infrastructure is falling apart? It's all dated, 50, 60, 70 years old. It hasn't been modernized. We have all these issues at home. A mass immigration issue, a housing issue, a job issue, economics in general. Why are we sending all this money overseas? We don't care about that. We don't care about neocon level policy, social issues, anything. Just neoconservatism is on its way out. But, a lot of these organizations and established politicians, Mitch McConnell types, do not comprehend that. Republicans under 30 are a whole different ideology compared to neoconservatives, Bush era, McCain era Republicans. But like I said, I want to end this by looking at J.D. Vance, who doubles down. A friend shared these truly disturbing messages from a Young Republicans group chat. The group's leader genuinely calls for the murdering of the children of his political opponents. Oh wait, this is actually Jay Jones, the Democrat running for Attorney General in Virginia. A private group chat? That's something you handle in private. I honestly do not care. What we should be worried about is a Democrat candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, wishing death on his political opponents. And it's really that simple. But to close all this out, I know it's a little bit of a long video. The alleged person who leaked these messages, let me say that again, is New York Young Republicans Club President Gavin Wax, who extorted Mike Bartels, allegedly, to turn over the Telegram messages to him, and Wax leaked them to Politico. This is the alleged guy who did it. Before you ask, yes he is. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.